Welcome back to Let's Play Darkest Dungeon. I'm your host, Timepants, and today I am joined by none other than CasinoHeist.
Yes, I am a special guest. I consider myself to be a special guest, and I won't hear any different.
That's right,
Yeah.
and we are going to be headed into the first recorded Coves run. What is this? It must be short, right? I've been playing this game for a year. So, you've played some of Darkest Dungeon, is that right?
Yes. I think at some point during its development, I played as much as was available, or thereabouts, and I let it lie for a while, and now it's, for the moment, it's been a bit too daunting to get back into, but I'm going to get back into it at some point.
I have never heard Darkest Dungeon described as daunting.
Oh.
No, never. This is definitely very, very casual friendly, especially if you're one of those folks that cried about corpses so hard that they added a feature to remove them.
Yeah, I mean, I've never cried about a corpse in real life, but in Darkest Dungeon, I'm moved to tears.
It's something that happens to everybody. All right, so have you been to the Cove at all?
The Cove, yeah. Actually,
it's capital T, capital H, capital D, the hard dungeon.
Yeah, I guess not. I think. Yeah, I think I may have just heard you talking it up with in such detail
that it was like you were there.
Yeah.
People. Of course. Of course.
Yeah, I mean, you like, as Lovecraft, you spun a tale of a maddening descent into the Cove. You know, like, ending with you, I don't know, like, figuring out you were a fish person all along, or some other, like, Lovecraftian thing.
That sounds like me.
Yeah.
I definitely would have done something like that. You're
Yeah.
right. So this is... Okay, so I'll just give you a little crash course on the Cove. The thing about the Cove is that basically everything has a gimmick. Like, everything is about either making sacrifices, or prioritizing the shit that you're gonna have to deal with.
Yeah.
So in this case, all of these guys are high damage targets. So this isn't so much of a fight of, managing priority as just trying to end things as quickly as possible before they really start to hurt.
Right, so you're just taking them out one by one, trying to reduce their numbers before they can deal damage.
Right, and the thing is, they're fast, and actually getting a surprise attack is almost a bad thing, because they get to attack twice in a row.
Huh.
Like, they'll all go at the end of the first turn, and then at the end of the second turn, at the start of the second turn, they go again, because they're fast enough that they'll generally beat out your party. Here's the other thing that sucks. They are, like, their rows are very, very crucial to how you fight them. So in the back row, the damage isn't so bad, but they can hit your back row.
No.
In the front, the damage sucks
Right.
balls. But on the bright side, you don't have to worry so much about your back row characters. You just basically all you're trying to do is decide sort of on the fly where you're going to sacrifice. Are you going to let them tear up your back row, or are you going to try and minimize damage, like the overall damage that you take, the numerical amount of damage that they can possibly...
Yeah.
Not happy about that. Not happy one bit.
Yeah. I have to say, and I'm speaking out of a bit of ignorance here, but I am a little it does sadden me to hear of the idea that getting a surprise round on enemies can be a bad thing.
Right.
It feels like it should never be.
Right. And under most circumstances, I would say that it wouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
But if your party is not in a condition where you can reliably kill like 2 or 3 enemies in the first round,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, any fast enemies that you have to deal with, like those really come back to bite you once they sort of get their wits about them. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I would really like for it not to ever, like, not even conditionally be something that could result in sort of negativity for your own party. Okay, so this is kind of more what I was describing, where you're talking about priorities.
Yeah, because we got 4 different types of enemies.
Right, so already there are 3 more,
yes,
in case you're keeping track.
I'm not.
Okay, so healer, stressor. And he tends to stress your back rows, where obviously we've got a bit of a problem here. Damage, but as long as he's in the back row, it's predictable, it's lower.
Yeah.
This guy guards. That sucks. And here's kind of your debuffer, and if you see the protection score, quite high. So, how do you deal with this? Well, if you if you stun the guy who's going to guard, great, but all of a sudden you're leaving this guy. Heals, he also buffs, and if he buffs this guy, it doesn't matter that he's dealing lower damage in the back. So, yeah, this is again sort of the competing priorities. That's kind of the hook of the Cove.
Yeah, well, now this does sound good to me, because like this is a situation where there's no, it sounds like there's no really great thing to do. It's just you're just trying to mitigate this bad situation you found yourself in.
Right.
Which seems like a very Darkest Dungeon sort of thing.
It's absolutely that. Except for the monster design, I would say that this is absolutely the most Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah.
Aside from the Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah, I mean it's the darkest dungeon.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think you said it as clearly as possible.
I don't think anybody could convey that more articulately than I did. No.
So now these guys are, like, to my eyes, like, to a man, like to a fish man, completely adorable sweethearts. How do you take issue with their design?
Well, they are very universal monsters, aren't they?
They are a bit of that, yeah.
But honestly, this is something that I was just thinking about. Darkest Dungeon really needs a cute mascot. That's really what I think it has been lacking in order to really break into the mainstream. Is just an adorable, squeezy little, I'm thinking ghost, maybe some cute little fangs.
Yeah.
And once it has that covered, I feel like the sky's really the limit. So, the Arbalest... Alright, so I had a guy from France, if you can believe that, who commented on one of my episodes.
Yeah.
This is like the coolest thing ever.
Right.
Because, for one thing, people in this country don't like me. So for the fact that somebody outside of this country would, take the time out of their day to, to comment on something that I do, not, negatively, like, wow, you are banned from France.
Right.
But actually saying, like, hey, why don't you try this? And his comment was, it was basically like, why don't you try running instead of an Arbalest? Why don't you put a Houndmaster in?
Yeah.
Good point. Guy from France. I'm afraid I don't remember his name. But it's an excellent point. I think the Arbalest is a really interesting character because, she's tanky, she hits back rows, and on top of that, there's the buff that she gets on her heal. All of these things, I think, make her really, really interesting because to maximize her healing potential, you must sacrifice 2 people's turns. A usual heal is sacrificing 1. Yeah. And it hurts, man. Yeah. Like, I have heard it said constantly that, to do anything except kill an enemy. Like, the priority list is thus. Kill, stun, shuffle out of usefulness, and then, do damage, heal.
Okay,
but heals
I would kill Tom Cruise. I would shuffle out of usefulness Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
Sorry, what was the question?
Well, who would you marry, though?
I would, let's see, I would
It's
marry...
Benicio del Toro.
Yes.
He seems like a cuddler.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now, so that's interesting, but you can get some monstrous heals off of her buff. The Houndmaster, of course, Master of Defense, and for some reason was buffed to be also a good damage dealer. I love his dog treats.
Yeah.
Like, you get a short-term buff, and this is the party where you would want to use it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, first of all, now these guys, explain to me this maddening amalgam of man and fish that I'm looking at right now. What are these guys doing in the cove?
Well, they're unfortunately everywhere.
Oh,
that's kind of their thing, is they just hang out where you don't want them.
Yeah.
But let's see. Oh, you fucking dick! Like, he survived with just enough. All right. Alright, so these guys up front, big damage.
Right.
Like, they have the ability to push, they have the ability to hit 2 guys at once, they inflict bleed. It's just nasty all around.
Sometimes they just miss entirely.
Right, well, that's these guys.
Yeah.
These guys are trash. I
Yeah.
mean, they're hot garbage.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, they are, I mean, here's the thing, they are early adopters of the gun.
right, which
I mean, God bless them for that.
Yeah.
They're the people who are, like, providing the money that's going to move that technology along, but what they're working with is not great.
No, I mean, it is like buying an Apple product at this stage of the Hamlet's development. But here's the thing: they added in one of the recent updates, not recent anymore, but they added riders to a lot of attacks.
Yeah.
So if they hit you with that blanket fire, you take debuffs.
Ah.
And 1 is not much, but 2, 3, they start to stack up. And even, your really dodgy characters start being a lot more susceptible to taking hits. So it's interesting. It's a good change, and I don't want to be like one of those guys who's like, every time you make the game harder, you make it better.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not true.
Yeah.
But it definitely was... It definitely was, I think, a nice addition that now even your non-damaging enemies are suddenly, they're suddenly not your lowest priority.
Yeah.
The light, the promise of safety.
All right, so this is pretty much it. Okay.
So these middle guys I recognize.
Right. Stress, bleed. Like, that's pretty much it. So
Well struck.
right now we are in the middle of a shitstorm because this is a volatile situation to say the least. But hopefully we're going to get 2 kills here. And if we had an abomination here, I might make a 2 Chains reference, but sadly it's not happening.
Annihilated.
Right, nice. Oh, by the way, I want to circle back to the issue of your popularity in France.
Right.
Now, I just to bring a little personal history into this.
Right.
I mean, the two of us did spend some time in France.
Right.
And here's the thing. I think we nailed it.
Oh,
like,
my
we
God.
we spent a relatively small amount of time in France, and as far as I recall, no missteps.
No.
Whereas, the time we spent in America, there were some formative years in there,
Right.
like a lot of gaffes,
Like,
a lot of mistakes.
Straight up, I cried a lot during my first few years here.
Yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, I think the only time that we cried in France was at the Louvre, where it's appropriate because
Right.
we're struck dumb and weeping by the majesty of all this incredible artwork.
Right, and of course of the very mean security guard who
So mean.
just really
So mean.
would not let us touch or lick
Yeah.
any of the artwork. Excuse me.
Yeah.
There's a reason that they made all those still
Remind
lives
yourself that
look so,
overconfidence is a
so
slow
lifelike.
and
Yeah.
The
insidious
snozberries.
They taste like snozberries.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
Presumably, we were unable to confirm this.
Right, velvet rope and all that.
Right.
So what do you think? Do we push forward, last battle, and then get our treasure,
Oh well.
or do we bail out?
I mean, here's the thing. I haven't adventured into the cove. It seems like we're in relatively solid shape. But
Our shape looks pretty solid. You wanna do it?
Yeah, let's
All right.
push forward.
All right, this is okay. So
So this, yeah.
these guys blow up.
Okay.
Big damage, big stress to everybody. So don't let them do that.
Yeah.
These guys stun,
Mhm.
and of course these guys are well trodden ground.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm doing here, I want to prioritize hitting the front because she cannot.
Yeah.
So we'll get these two, and if somebody's getting stunned, and there's only one
Yeah.
enemy left, no
Yeah.
trubs, right?
Yeah.
There we go. All right, I think this is handled. I want to just chalk this up as another success.
Yeah. I mean, I think my advice was sterling.
Very sound.
yeah.
Very sound.
Yeah. There were two possible options, and I chose against all odds.
Right.
Really, I chose the best of the two.
I mean, seriously, almost most of the time
Mm-hmm.
you'll pick the wrong option.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I'm notorious.
Just in general.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Bubbling.
I'm sort of a Carmen Sandiego figure.
Deep cut Carmen Sandiego reference there.
I was so not confident of that reference. I'm so glad I got a laugh at it too. Carmen Sandiego, not that relevant of a property these days, is she? Come to think of it.
Okay, so here's my idea. Let's bring back Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah.
Let's get that IP back off the ground. First person shooter, RPG elements. Let's do this.
Yeah.
The pungent odor of
Alright, so that was a tremendous success. So Casino Heist, what do you think of the first, our first, and let's be honest, probably only venture into the cove. What do you say?
I think that the Cove was a fine film. Leonardo DiCaprio should have gotten his Oscar much earlier.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, like, thank God he has it now, and
Right.
he can stop. He can finally stop. The curse is broken.
We were all just waiting.
Yeah.
We're all thinking to ourselves, my God, how far is he going to go?
Yeah, and the answer was, whatever happened in The Revenant, I haven't seen it.
All right, there you have it.
Yep.
The Revenant, 2 shoulders up.
Yeah. I like that. 2 shoulders.
All right, thank you
Okay.
very much for watching. We'll see you next time when we do Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right, see you then.